The war in Syria has become much less severe in comparison with the first bloody years of the conflict. Many militant groups have been defeated or forced out of Syria by the army and its allies. But the situation on the ground is increasingly complicated. The most recent twist was Turkey's offensive against Kurdish-held areas in the north. Turkey's intervention came after the United States failed to heed Ankara's calls not to back Kurdish forces based near the border. The escalation is blamed by many on Washington's destabilizing policies in Syria. The Russian Security Council says by funneling advanced arms to Kurdish forces, the U.S. provoked Turkey into beginning a direct military intervention. Turkey fears that Kurdish forces near its border may fuel separatist sentiments in southern Turkey.
Well, there's an enormous amount of incoherence in U.S. foreign policy, particularly with regards to the Middle East in general. They never seem to have an exit strategy or a long-term perspective, and you can see, the disasters are there in Iraq, in Libya, and slowly unfolding one in Afghanistan, which seems to be the hallmark of American policy in that region.
The United States deployed ground troops to Syria ostensibly to fight the Daesh terrorist group. The fight against Daesh in Syria is almost over, but the U.S. is not pulling out. It's instead fortifying its positions mostly in the north.
The United States rarely ever leaves a place once it has established a military presence there, at least not voluntarily. They did, in recent years, leave Central Asia, but it was only because Russians and Chinese and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization forced them out of bases in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. So it does look like there's mission creep going on. There's a lot of confusion in Washington over this, because the stated purpose of American presence in Syria was, from the very beginning, to defeat ISIS.
Russia's Security Council warns that the U.S. has built about 20 military bases in the northern areas controlled by the Kurds. This has fueled fears that Washington may be trying to partition Syria and keep permanent bases there.
But there's a lot of institutional forces that want to preserve the gains and solidify them through a permanent military presence. And that struggle taking place in Washington is what we see right now. And out of that will emerge some kind of plan, but it hasn't yet.
Syria, Russia, and Iran have in the past warned against any effort that could undermine Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The United States had long pushed for the ouster of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Washington and its regional allies heavily backed militant groups fighting Damascus. But the Syrian government proved resilient and now has the upper hand in the war. The U.S. seems to have changed strategy, abandoning regime change efforts. It is apparently trying to cut off parts of the country. America's current course in Syria threatens to escalate the conflict once again.
And no one has said explicitly that the United States wants to partition Syria. Though the question has arisen at various times, it seems absolutely certain that they mean to keep a military presence there in order to have influence over whatever final settlement may occur in Syria.
Hundreds of thousands of people have so far been killed in Syria. Observers believe Washington's policies will probably make the war drag on for many more years.